Hey, thank you so much for clicking on the video. I've got 5 of probably the coolest and most unique rental teams I've had on this channel. If you've been subscribed to me for a while, you know I've been putting these out every month, and I've had a lot of people asking me, where's this month's video? I completely missed out on May, didn't put anything. So this is the June 2020 video. I mean, it's coming right at the end of May, but I'm so sorry to my subscribers that look forward to these every month and I wasn't there for you. I've had to move to a new apartment, had to completely take apart everything, reset everything up. The priority was, getting, everything situated with my girlfriend and my little dog and making sure everyone was good. And this got put on the back burner and I hated it. And I feel like I let everybody down, but they're back. So if you're subscribed, hopefully, this content, these teams are good enough to help earn your faith back. Maybe drop a like. And if you're new, I hope you do subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed the video as well. But let's get right into the teams. One more thing I want to add before we get into the list is that if you want to build these teams and you don't want to use rental teams, that's fine. I'm going to give you all the EVs and the IVs in the description. It's just a link. You click the link and it's just a straight up list of all 6 Pokemon, their exact stats, exactly what item they're holding, their moves, IVs, EVs, everything you need to completely build the team yourself. So if that's how you want to do it, that's great too. The rental codes are great if you want to test the team first before you commit to taking all the time it takes to build the team up. The person who came up with this team is Alex Arend. It was his top 4 finish, and he's been playing the game for about 4 years. He's been doing VGC. So congratulations to Alex, and thanks for making this team public so we could all use it. Again, if you're new to my videos, you can jump in the timestamps and see exactly where the code for each team is if you just want to get the codes and use them. If you want to hear a little bit about each Pokemon, how they're built, what the moves are for, what 2 you should lead, I do a brief summary of that for each team before I move on to the next one. So totally up to you how you guys want to do it. I put the timestamps in there to make it easy if you just want the codes. So Alex actually did really well in Costa Rica. Then he moved on to the Collinsville tournament, and he altered that team that he used in Costa Rica and made some changes to make it a lot better. And the rental code that I'm giving you guys right now, that Alex was really, really kind to provide to everyone. So props to Alex. Good job in the tournament, and thanks for the code. This is the final draft. So this is like the cream of the crop premier team. Whimsicott is pretty standard. I know he was originally running Charm on Whimsicott, which you can choose to do if you want to, lower the attack of, some Pokemon like Tyranitar or Excadrill, physical Pokemon, lower their attack. That's very, very helpful. But he actually decided to drop Charm for Protect, which is also really helpful, especially if you know your opponent's going for a turn 1 Fake Out, in which case they'll probably use Fake Out and then do a move that would one-shot you, knowing that the Fake Out will take out your Focus Sash. So that's why you want to run Protect. Otherwise, it's a standard Whimsicott. People know what to expect, although you might be able to catch them off guard with the turn 1 Protect. You Tailwind if you need that speed control. Fake Tears so your special attackers can go off. So special attackers on this team would be Togekiss, Duraludin, and Rotom. Arcanine is not the physical attacking Arcanine. It's more of a support Pokemon. So you're going to be using Will-O-Wisp to get the burn on physical attackers to lower their physical attack. Again, pretty much all the support Pokemon on this team have Protect. You're going to be using Snarl to lower your opponent's special attack, so you can lower both physical and special attack with this Arcanine. And then Heat Wave when you just want to hit both Pokemon with a special attack. Duraludin is obviously one of the key Pokemon you're going to want to Dynamax on this team. With the Assault Vest on, it's really, really hard to hit this Duraludin. Of course, you're going to want to be wary of ground types. Draco Meteor, obviously not something you want to move unless you're Dynamax. Same thing with Solar Beam, unless the sun's out, which it wouldn't be unless your opponent sets it. So this is really a Dynamax Duraludin. If you're bringing this, you're typically going to want to be Dynamaxing Flash Cannon. Again, will hurt itself unless you're using Max Steel. So with all 4 of those move types, Dragon, Grass, Steel, and Lightning, Duraludin can wreak havoc on pretty much anything. And of course, Stalwart, it will ignore things like Follow Me from Togekiss and NDD, so you can hit the Pokemon that you actually want to hit. Conkeldurr, amazing Pokemon. It has Detect, which is of course the same thing as Protect. And then it has Ice Punch, which is really nice for Dragon types. And then Drain Punch, which is a really good fighting attack that can also bring back its HP. And Mach Punch, that is the typical, T-Tar one-shot. You see Tyranitar, bring Conkeldurr, Mach Punch always goes first. Just hit him right in the face. Togekiss, this is a Super Luck Togekiss, and it has Dazzling Gleam, Air Slash, which of course can flinch the opponent, Follow Me, and Helping Hand. So you would bring Whimsicott if you want to do fake tears to lower your opponent's special defense and let one of your special attackers go off. However, if you want a physical attacker like Conkeldurr to go off, you can always use Helping Hand with Togekiss, which is nice, or you can use Follow Me if you don't want that other Pokemon taking a hit. Rotom Wash is another great Dynamaxing candidate. Again, pair it with Whimsicott and you'll be sure to do great. It has Protect, but it has Thunderbolt, Dark Pulse, and Hydro Pump. Obviously, Hydro Pump can be a little sketchy on whether it hits or not. That's why you would want to Dynamax it for. That's why you would want to Dynamax it for a Max Geyser. So yeah, Duraludon, Rotom would be the main Dynamaxers for this team. Togekiss and Whimsicott, great support. Arcanine, great support. Conkeldurr, just a great powerful Pokemon, and if you get the burn on him with the Flame Orb, since it's Guts, that is also a potential great Dynamaxer as well. So there's a lot of different things you can do with this team. If this team is intriguing to you and you want to learn more about how it works, Alex's full write-up, there's a link to that in my description, and it also includes all the EVs and IVs for all of these Pokemon. All 5 of my teams, you will get the full EV and IV sets, as well as their full move set and the item that is on them. So even if the rental code, if you're watching this in the future, and the owner of this team has taken the rental code down, you can still build the exact team. All right, this next team, guys, this is one of the absolutely insane teams I was telling you about. Who does not love to see a Sarina and Blastoise sweeping team? Of course, you do have the classic Sandstream, T-Tar, and Excadrill combo. However, it is not the Sand Rush Excadrill, which benefits from the speed boost from the T-Tar. It is actually Mold Breaker. So things like Mimikyu, which would normally be able to take a hit because of their disguise, Excadrill will just come out and one-shot them, which is nice. So Blastoise and Sarina are actually the stars of this team, but there's just something so cool that you can do with this Excadrill. I have to tell you about that first. Say you lead with Charizard and Excadrill, or even if you lead with Sarina and Blastoise, if you have Charizard and Excadrill in the back, when you have both Charizard and Excadrill on the field, your opponent is going to typically want to go after that Charizard. Now, Charizard can Dynamax, be an absolute beast with both Max Airstream or Max Flare. But what it can also do is use Ancient Power on Excadrill. Well, Excadrill uses Swords Dance, and then Swords Dance +2s the attack. Getting hit with Ancient Power, which is its weakness, will +2 the attack. That's a physical attack coming from a special attacking Charizard. It's going to do almost nothing. Your Excadrill is going to be +4 attack for the next turn. You Dynamax, you sweep. Because it's Mold Breaker, even if a Mimikyu comes out, you one-shot through the disguise because of Mold Breaker. Plus, Ancient Power has the potential to boost your Charizard stats. So right there is just an absolutely filthy play you can do. And if they do go after the Excadrill, no problem. You just sweep them up with the Charizard. So that's really fun. But here's how the Blastoise and Sarina works. Basically, the Blastoise is just support. It's defensive, it's bulky, it can't die, and it's annoying as heck. It has Yawn, which will make your opponent keep switching out. It has Fake Out, which can cost your opponent from using moves. And then it has Icy Wind, which will slow your opponent down. It has Scald, which can drop the burn on your opponent. So many different things this Blastoise can do, and it's just so bulky. It has so many IVs, it has so many EVs and defense, special defense, that it's just gonna take hits. Sarina can hit so many things for weakness with the high jump kick, the power whip, with high jump kick and power whip. And because it's Sweet Veil with the wide lens, high jump kick and power kick are like 93 and 95% accurate when normally they're like, I think like 80 and 70 or something crazy like that. I don't have the exact numbers, I'm sorry about that. but it makes them up into the mid 90s in percentage of accuracy. But the reason Serena is on this team is because the creator of this team, Justin, wanted something that could be able to not be put to sleep. So if you see Butterfree, it's grass type, it can't be put to sleep, but it also has access to taunt. So it can go ahead and taunt that Butterfree that's trying to put the rest of your team to sleep and it can't do anything. Of course, it can taunt Corviknight, make it so it can't bulk up, Iron Defense. It can protect a turn if it needs to. That in combination with the things that Blastoise is doing make this so good. And you'd be shocked about how good you can actually do with this team. Because when you have Blastoise and Serena doing what they're doing, then you've got Excadrill and Charizard doing what they're doing, and then your opponent also has to worry about whether you bring Tyranitar and Togekiss, who are always good, who we always see on so many teams. It's really, really fun. It's actually a really similar Togekiss build to the last team, and then T-Tar is a little different, has Superpower and Protect. And it actually has a Focus Sash, and that's so it can't get one-shotted, because you're typically not going to be Dynamaxing this T-Tar. The Rock Slide is really good for when you're going up against those Trick Room opponents, to be able to hit them both in one shot. You can do the same thing with the Charizard, just do a double hit. That way the NDD Follow Me really means nothing. If you have any questions about any of these teams, let me know in the comments below. But, so the video is not too long, I'm going to get into team number 3. And you guessed it, team number 3 is a Gengar team. And ever since G-Max Gengar was legal, ever since I heard about G-Max Gengar, I've wanted to see a G-Max Gengar team. And this is a really, really fun team. But you got to be careful. If people see Gengar and they have a good dark type on your team, you might not want to even bring him, as fun as he is. This is G-Max Gengar. Of course, his G-Max attack, his G-Max Ghost attack will make it so none of your opponent's Pokemon are allowed to retreat. So you can lock in the two Pokemon your opponent have in, bring in stuff that they're weak to, bring in Pokemon that are strong against their typing, and your opponent won't be able to switch out, which is really, really cool. The female NDD really throws people off guard. You'll notice its ability is Synchronize and not the typical Psychic Surge. You can really use that to your advantage. This is one of those things where you're playing off what your opponent expects you to do, what the common teams are, and this is uncommon. You'll notice that the T-Tar has the same moveset as the last one, but instead of having the Focus Sash, this has the more typical weakness policy. We've got another Whimsicott with the same set as the first team, Moonblast, which devastates T-Tar and anything that's weak to Fairy. Tailwind for the speed up, Fake Tears, so your special attackers like Gengar can get that off. Also note that Gengar with G-Max Lightning can make it so you're not affected by sleep, which is really helpful. Primarina, the only reason it has Scold is if you want to G-Max, it has the ability Liquid Voice, which makes Hyper Voice, which hits both Pokemon. It makes it the water type, so you get the stab bonus. However, if you Dynamax, you no longer will get a stab bonus from using Hyper Voice. It just turns to a normal move. But if you use Scald and use Max Geyser, you still get a water stab move. Moonblast is a stab move of the Fairy type, and Energy Ball is a grass move that you would want to use for stuff like Gastrodon, Lapras. Primarina, one of the slowest Pokemon in the game, so just be careful how you use it. It's a good Trick Room counter, and it has the Assault Vest, so it's not going to take as much damage from special attackers. Conkeldurr, another one with the same moveset we saw earlier, Mach Punch for T-Tar, Drain Punch, Ice Punch, and Protect. This is a team that can deal with a lot of things, but what you have to be careful of is that some of the Pokemon are the same type, like you don't have any fire moves on the same team, but you basically have 2 fairy types. One of those also has water, but NDD is pretty much purely support besides Psychic. T-Tar and Conkeldurr are both mainly fighting. So you have to be careful with what you choose, because like I said, you lead Gengar, Dynamax turn 1, you might win the game, but if they have anything to counter Gengar, you're going to be in for a really rough time. So if you bring the wrong Pokemon for this team, it's going to be tough to come back. So this would definitely be more of a team where You want to have fun. People that aren't prepared for Gengar, you're going to have a lot of fun beating up on them. But if people are ready for it, it's going to be, going to have to be perfect to win with this team. So even though G-Max Gengar is one of my favorites and I had the most fun with this team, I also lost, I think, the most with this team in Master Ball. So just be aware of that if you're going to use it, but super fun team, definitely worth trying out. All right, we've made it to Team 4. And please let me know at this point in the video if you've been keeping up with my descriptions, what's been helpful, what's overkill, where am I going off on tangents, where do you need more solid information. I do my best on these things. I think I've gotten a lot better since I started the series, but I could definitely still use help from you guys to make it perfect. Now, the reason I say that before I go into this team is because this team does some really crazy stuff, and I want to make sure I don't overlook anything. Because looking at this team, you know, you might recognize a couple Pokemon, what they do, but then you look at Togetic and Arrokuda, and you're like, what is going on here? You might have some idea. But let me explain. So the reason that Togetic has the Macho Brace rather than the Eviolite is that it allows the sweepers of this team to function in and out of Trick Room. The speed stat combined with the Macho Brace will allow Togetic to be slower than Torkoal, which means in under Trick Room, Togetic would move first. Then you use After You on your teammate, and since Togetic goes first and it's After You in Trick Room, your partner Pokemon, regardless of how fast it is, will be the next Pokemon to move in Trick Room. So you can then hit that Torkoal or whatever the bigger threat is before they have a chance to hit you first. And even if you don't use After You, if you use something like Follow Me, it'll take the attack away from your partner Pokemon, allowing your Pokemon to get that attack in. Now, if it's Torkoal, it's going to use Eruption, right? Which is going to hit both Pokemon for massive damage if Torkoal has maximum health. But the damage of Eruption is based on how much health it has. So that's why you would use After You specifically for Torkoal. Helping Hand can also be really good if you're not under Trick Room and you outspeed your Pokemon. You just use Helping Hand and that will let your Pokemon do, double the damage. And if you see something like a Whimsicott and you just need to break the Focus Sash, that's pretty much what Body Slam is there for. So that's kind of the role of Togetic on this team. Gastrodon, as you know, if you've been following these videos, there's almost always a team with Gastrodon because of its ability Storm Drain, which is so good, especially if you pair it with Colossal. Now, what Storm Drain does is if your opponent uses a water type attack, no matter what Pokemon they target, even if they target themselves, Gastrodon automatically redirects it at itself and raises its special attack and takes no damage. So if you've got Colossal in there and you're worried about your opponent doing a really super effective water attack, just switch Gastrodon in as its partner and Colossal won't take any damage, and all that will happen is Gastrodon's special attack is boosted. That's why Gastrodon is so good. This one actually has really good special attack too, so you can either Scald or Earth Power your opponent. With moves like Protect and Recover, it's going to be really hard to kill this thing, especially when it's recovering a little HP every turn anyways because it's holding leftovers. Hydreigon is going to be a Pokemon on this team that will be a Dynamax option for you sometimes. The Life Orb is going to make it do a lot of extra damage. Nasty Plot will give it a huge boost to special attack. It's like Swords Dance, but for special attack. And you'll notice those moves, Draco Meteor and Flash Cannon, are not stuff you want to be using unless you're Dynamaxed, and you can take advantage of the Max Steel, Max Dragon, Max Darkness. That's what you want to be using those for. Dark Pulse is obviously, you can use that, not Dynamax, but Hydreigon, if you're bringing it, it's typically because you think you're probably going to Dynamax it. But the funnest Pokemon on this team here is definitely Colossal. And that's because it has the ability Steam Engine. If it gets hit with a super effective attack, its speed increases by like +4, something crazy. But also holding the weakness policy, that's going to +2 both of its attack and its special attack. So if you Dynamax that thing and hit it with a super weak Aqua Jet from your Arrokuda, it's automatically going to have that massive speed and massive attack boost. And then you just go off, do a Max Quake, do a Max Flare, whatever you want to do there. And then of course its max rock move is going to keep doing damage throughout the game for a few turns. So that's also very, very fun. When Arrokuda does Aqua Jet to a Dynamax Colossal, it only takes away like 10% of its health. Pretty much nothing, and you get to trigger that Steam Engine and Weakness Policy. And since Arrokuda is one of the fastest Pokemon in the game without any buffs whatsoever, it's pretty awesome. Arrokuda has an eject button, so if it does get hit, it'll eject right out of there. It's got Propeller Tail, so if your opponent sends out a Gastrodon to maybe try to stop your Colossal from getting the Weakness Policy activated, the Propeller Tail will actually hit Colossal even if your opponent has Gastrodon on the field. So that's why that's so clutch. After you use the Aqua Jet to get Colossal Steam Engine and Weakness Policy activated, you're going to want to use Acupressure, and you can even use that on Colossal again, and that will just boost random stats for your Arrokuda, hopefully Evasion, so you don't get hit. Then the last Pokemon I have to mention is Hitmontop. It has Intimidate, so every time it switches in, it lowers the attack of your opponent. See a Pokemon like Corviknight on your opponent's team, definitely don't lead Hitmontop, but I prefer it in the back on this team anyways. The reason why I would not lead Hitmontop against a Corviknight is because Mirror Armor will reflect the Intimidate back to you. Sucker Punch, a priority move that can always go first. Fake Out, also a priority move that always goes first, and it costs your opponent 1 turn of attack if it's not Dynamaxed. Helping Hand, you'll see a theme here, priority move that always goes first. If you don't have your Togetic in that match and you need the Helping Hand, Hitmontop's a great support Pokemon for that. And of course, if you want to just hit your Pokemon with a big old attack, you can just slap him with a close combat and know that he's holding the eject pack and get out of there. So that way he can come back in, get another Intimidate off, lower your opponent's attack even more. So this is a really fun team. And even though, you know, there's some special mons like Togetic and Hitmontop that you have to like know what you're doing to bring in situationally, you don't have to be very good to dominate with this team. Because if your opponent guesses wrong and you have Colossal set up, which only takes a turn to do, just send out Arrokuda Colossal, hit him with the Aqua Jet, and you can pretty much steamroll and figure out the rest on your own. And for those times when you don't feel like you can bring Colossal, bring Hydreigon. Your opponent might be expecting the Colossal, and and you can just sweep with the Hydreigon Dynamaxed. So really, really fun team. You don't have to be like an expert to get a lot of wins with this one. It's just a well-built team. And, you know, G-Max Colossal is just wicked, wicked fun to use. All right, this brings us to team number 5. If you've been listening to all my explanations, thank you so much. If you just got all the codes, that's fine too. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you liked it. I hope you consider subscribing to see here in the future. And I've actually can really sum this team up pretty quickly, even though, again, this is a really unique team with some really unique Pokemon. Incineroar, we've seen all over the place lately. This is more of the support set. It does have Flare Blitz, so it can do some huge fire damage if it needs to. Physical attack. It has Intimidate to lower your opponent's attack, and then it has the Parting Shot. And if you've seen Parting Shot on Incineroar and you're not exactly sure, you know, what it's best for, there's tons of uses. But the number one reason Incineroar has this, in my opinion, is if your opponent goes G-Max Hatterene, Parting Shot, because of the Magic Armor ability, will eject the Hatterene on turn 1 when it Dynamaxes, which I've seen so many people rage quit just because of Parting Shot on their Hatterene. So don't sleep on that. If you see your opponent's bringing a Hatterene, risk it for the brisket, lead Incineroar. It's going to get that Intimidate off. You can use a Fake Out to take away one of your opponent's attacks. It's just so good. Oh, in addition to Flare Blitz, it has Darkest Lariat. So great, great support Pokemon. Then you have Lapras. Another great pronunciation, with Water Absorb, which isn't typical. It's basically like Storm Drain with Gastrodon, but it only works if Lapras is the one that's being targeted. But it has the Light Clay. So if you do G-Max this and use the G-Max, Lapras' G-Max attack, which sets a Light Screen and a Reflect, it's an Aura Veil, as a side effect from this attack, it'll last 8 turns with the Light Clay. However, Lapras isn't the number 1 Pokemon you want to Dynamax on this team. That's actually Goodra. Now, Lapras does have Ice Shard, which you can use on Goodra to trigger its weakness policy right away, and that's why this team's so good. If you lead Goodra and Lapras, Gmax Lapras is all over the place right now. 9 times out of 10, they're going to target the Lapras. Now, if you notice that they bring Pokemon that Lapras isn't really weak to, then be aware they'll probably going for Goodra. But if they're going for Lapras, Ice Shard your Goodra, Dynamax it, turn 1, that's fine. And it'll activate the weakness policy, and Goodra will just absolutely destroy. It has Dragon Attack, Lightning Attack, Fire Attack, Water Attack. Literally whatever you need, and just destroy the other team. Perish Song, I pretty much never use Perish Song on this team with Lapras, but it's an option. You know, if your opponent's down to 2 Pokemon, you click Perish Song, they'll automatically faint in 3 turns, whether all you have to do is survive. So those 3 Pokemon right there, Lapras, Incineroar, Goodra, already make the team. You can already get wins with just those 3. But then you've got some dirty, dirty weapons, like Sableye, who you can quash to make sure that your partner Pokemon goes before the other Pokemon, even if they're faster than you. Ally Switch, which is another tactic that makes people rage quit a lot, because they'll try to attack Goodra once they realize you're going off with Goodra, and Sableye comes in and just Ally Switches, and they end up hitting the Sableye, typically with something that's not very effective, and it's awesome. Sableye has Fake Out as well, just like Incineroar, so you've got 2 Fake Out users. That's awesome. Then Togedemaru with another support moveset. Now it has a nice Steel move and Iron Head that is a stab move. It has Nuzzle, so it's basically like Thunder Wave, but it does a little bit of damage too, so it's really good. Thunder Wave already, like on Grimmsnarl, is amazing to get that Paralyze in. Nuzzle will get the Paralyze in, drop some damage. Then Spiky Shield, it's like a Protect, but it hurts your opponent if they try to attack you. So that's why Togedemaru is so good. It's coming in holding an air balloon, so you can do stuff like Earthquake, where your opponent can, and it's not going to even affect the Togedemaru. If you have Togedemaru and Togekiss out, their Earthquake, their Max Quake will do nothing. So if you feel like they're going to do a Max Quake on one of your other Pokemon that's out, switch in one of those guys, you should be good. Togekiss, this actually has Yawn, which we on the other Togekiss sets we've seen has not have Yawn. This also has Serene Grace instead of Super Luck. So Yawn is so annoying because basically it makes your Pokemon, it makes your opponent switch out whatever Pokemon that gets Yawned, so they can't attack with it next turn. So if you fake out one Pokemon with an Incineroar and then Yawn the other one, they have no choice but to switch out that other Pokemon. They end up losing 2 turns already right at the beginning of the game. You can get ahead, you can set up your other Pokemon. It's really, really good. This is a fun team to play, and it's a different team to play. And different is good because the most popular teams, yes, well, they're good. Your opponent will typically know how to fight them because they're so popular. So it doesn't matter if they're good if people know what to expect. And that's why these are my favorite teams I've done in a while, because they're so unique, they're so different. Even though they do have some Pokemon that are really popular and you see a lot, they are paired with Pokemon that you almost never see, and that's what is going to scare your opponent and let you get those wins. So again, thank you so much for watching. Don't worry, guys, I'm going to be live streaming a ton leading up to the DLC, and when the DLC comes out, I'm going to be streaming even more. Going to be doing way more teams in July, August, September with all the new Pokemon that are going to be added from the DLC. I'm super excited. Definitely subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.